Oh, good afternoon, and welcome aboard for our virtual collage jam for Monday, November 13th. It's Monday the 13th, at least it's not Friday the 13th. So I think actually it's unlucky on Friday, and I think it's fortuitous on Monday because we get to collage on it. So I'm just gonna say hi in the chat to everyone. And how have you been? I've been very busy getting ready for Fashion Art Toronto. I'm really excited about that because it's very in alignment with my collages. The way I've been working a lot recently with fashion imagery, so excited. They're going to be printing, or they have printed them. I haven't seen them yet, but they've printed either 5 or 6 of my images. I think they were going to be 5, and I gave them 6, and they could choose between them. 4 feet tall, which is very cool, and on like an adhesive film, and they're going to put them on the wall. And so, and I'm really happy because I get to exhibit with Agatha Reck, who's a collage artist who I discovered. Well, actually, one of my students, Abigail, brought her work to my attention in a class several months ago, probably at the beginning of the year, or maybe even earlier. I can't remember, but yeah, and I thought, oh, this is nice stuff. I really like this. And then I discovered that I get to exhibit alongside her, so that's cool. And yeah, so very excited. Hey, Kathleen, how are you? How are you doing? Are you collaging at home much, or painting or drawing, or this is definitely the season when it's, well, not today, it's actually really warm and sunny out, but but it is sort of heading towards the time when we spend more time at home, right? So hope you've got some stuff lined up to play with at home for the winter season. And you might just see Kim working her way in from the background there. So yeah, she's gonna come and say hi. No worries. She's gonna join us for a few minutes at the beginning, which is great. Painting this morning, collaging this afternoon. That sounds like a perfect day, Kathleen. Awesome. I love it. And which do you prefer cleaning the mess up of? Like I much prefer collage, even though it's like bits everywhere. It's like at least it's dry. So yeah, not that the mess is what matters, right? It's whether we enjoyed the process of using them. But yeah, so I should. Oh, we'll talk about that in a moment. But why don't I move aside and make a little room for Kim, seeing as we haven't had Kim aboard for a while. So
it's been a long time.
It has.
Hi, everybody.
Yay!
Making my slow, awkward way here on my crutch.
Yeah, but you're.
I'm on my crutch.
You
That's
are.
good.
Yeah, I mean you're getting more mobile these last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So is it next week or no, it's the week after, I think, that you go for your follow-up, or
it's a week from today.
A week from today, okay. And do you know what time it is?
I don't remember.
Right, okay.
So I have to look it up.
Not that matters. We don't need to sort out our
I don't think anybody here needs to know when.
Yeah, so Kim is it is pretty funny. So yeah, so what you guys might need to know is that she will be getting checked out on Monday, a week, and hopefully they'll say everything looks great, and you can take that nasty boot off and get on with some rehab. I mean, she's been doing a little bit of rehab, but yeah, it would be nice for her to be able to be level, not have the foot locked. Your hips are probably complaining from the different angle and everything. Yeah.
I have an excellent physiotherapist, and I know she's going to set me to right. So, hi, Kathleen.
Yeah. So Kathleen says, yes, collage is usually, but not always, an easier cleanup. Yep.
Yeah.
And hey,
Val.
Val. Yay. How are you, Val? Good day. Glad you can join us. That's so cool.
And Jane's here.
Yay. Hi, Jane.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not seeing you, but you know what I mean? Like being present.
C, right? Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
Jane couldn't make it last time, so it's great to have you back.
Nice then, yeah.
Say hi to Colin from us. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Irina Froelich. Hey, yay, how are you? That's so cool. Welcome back. I know you joined us for the first time last session, so welcome back. That's great.
Yeah. If I hadn't had my serious health issues last year, I would still be a full member of the Redhead Gallery, probably, and I would be part of a group show in Dusseldorf, Germany right now.
Right, yeah.
At Plan D. The Redhead Gallery did an exchange exhibition with the Plan D. I gather they're similarly an artist collective gallery or an artist cooperative gallery.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm very sad to have missed out on it, but
an opportunity to show in Germany. Yeah,
but exactly. I saw photographs and video from the show, and it's good. And some of the members came from Canada, went to Dusseldorf for the opening, which was great.
Cool. And Kim and I both want to visit Berlin to check out all the. Glad you're good. Awesome. Yeah. We'd love to go check out the art scene in Berlin.
And the massive Canadian
expat
community there of artists.
Yeah. a lot of artists from a lot of places in Berlin, I think, but
obviously also the local artists.
Exactly. Yeah.
And museums and everything. So yeah. Hopefully in the next few years we'll make it there.
She says we'll never get bored in Berlin.
Yeah.
I think that's true of not every big city, but certainly some cities more than others. Especially
Berlin's pretty unique.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously every city has its history, but Berlin has an extraordinary history. Honestly, I mean, just thinking of the 20th century.
The 20th century, but obviously it goes a lot further back than that. Yeah.
But post World War One, putting aside the huge suffering and all that was going on, the cultural scene in Berlin was radical and alternative and like really, really advanced, which of course then was labeled as degenerate and so on.
Course,
so
yes.
I don't know. It resembles some
of our current
maybe one of our neighbors, geographic neighbors.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but I won't go into that.
No.
Anyway, so lovely to see you from Germany, Irina.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I should mention my exhibition is still on at Station Gallery in Whitby, Burnt Offerings. I'm the headliner, as they say. Mm-hmm. And so I have almost the entire gallery. Certainly of the main floor.
You have the 3 sort of main rooms,
plus 2,
including the sort of marquee room, and then
3 small exhibition areas in addition to that.
Right. A display case, a hallway, and another 2 hallways. Yeah.
Well, the breezeway is not really a hallway; it's a
right. I think of it as a glass hallway, but
it's fancier than that.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll never get bored of that. That's good. Yeah. So it's on for 2 more weeks. It's on through Saturday, November the 25th.
Yeah.
And I'm just working on editing the video from my artist talk that I'm planning to put up on YouTube.
Cool.
Really terrific guy, videographer, put it together. So it's got some nice layered editing. It's quite nice.
He did a very nice job.
He did a nice job.
Yeah. And hi, Philippa.
Hi, Philippa.
Philippa says, hi, Kim and Cal. We just saw a documentary on Netflix about pre-war.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. So you know far more about it than I do.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating. Yeah, all the alternative culture that was going on then.
So I thought I would read the definition of binary. Now, I went to Wikipedia first, And
Hi, Cherie.
Hey, Cherie. Yay.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's quite all right.
It's nice to see
And
people.
hey, Nellie.
And Nellie.
Hey,
Hi, Nellie.
Nellie. Yeah, nice to see you, Nellie. And thank you for that lovely book that you gave us, Nellie, of the color of the. That was really cool.
With the old color wheels, yeah.
Historical color wheels.
Amazing.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Also, I really appreciate you being able to make it to the opening.
Yeah, that was lovely. And Philippa says.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Philippa says it was super cool, like the documentary about Berlin, but ended up very badly for the Jews. Yes,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a period, though, before what we all know happened, the devastation.
Yeah.
Where there was an extraordinary flowering and freedom happening out of a larger context of a lot of suffering.
Yeah.
But that can often be the case. Arts flourish, culture grows in new ways when things are hard, and can be our saving grace, or can be squashed depending on the circumstances.
But it is true that anyway.
Yeah.
I was just thinking a negative thought, and I'm just gonna
we don't need more negative thoughts.
Yeah, I know exactly. Don't need help. So Anne has joined us. Hi,
Anne.
Yay. And she says, hi, Kal and Kim and all. So good to be back after whirlwind baby grandkid trips to Montreal. Well, that's an exciting reason. First of all, it's Montreal.
Congratulations.
And congratulations. But yes, it's very exciting and probably pretty tiring, right? So because of all the excitement and the emotion, and so it's wonderful, but I'm sure you're like, right?
Yeah. Enjoy that nice quiet cup of tea.
Exactly. And Ricky is here from Philadelphia.
Yay! Hi, Ricky.
Yeah.
You haven't seen my face in a while.
No, it's true. Wait, she's moving around. She's hard to frame. Ricky says, hi, Kal and Kim. Good to see you, Kim, after a while. Happy to be here. Glad to have you along. Yeah.
Here, I should show you my boot.
Yes.
Some of you will be familiar with these boots.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah. But it is quite a.
Yeah, it goes most of the way up the.
And it's on 24/7.
Yeah, she looks like a one-booted stormtrooper or something.
Yeah.
Except
from
she's
Star Wars,
but not moving so quickly.
No, not storming anything.
No, exactly. So Philippa says of the documentary, it was called El Dorado, I think. Well worth watching, and that'd be great. We'd love to see that. So
thanks,
thank
Philippa.
you. Yeah. That boot was made for walking or hobbling. Or
hobbling is. But it was made for that. Because I wasn't allowed to just walk on it. Although I'm finally doing that a little bit now, just around the house.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do.
Yeah.
If they don't have as weird and complex a fracture situation as I have.
And just to answer your question, Ricky, she just before she installed her show, like 3 or 4 days before we were due to install her show, she fell on an irregularity in the pavement and badly sprained one ankle on and that sent her pavement ward, and then she fell awkwardly on her other foot, which broke 4 bones. And
4.
Yeah, so it was nasty, but it could have been worse because she fell face first, but she didn't hit her face. She had a little scrape on an elbow. The hands were fine.
I went on a knee and an elbow, and it took a while for the elbow to heal superficially, but it was fine structurally, and so was my knee, which really surprised me on concrete.
Yeah.
So
and hands, like an artist is always concerned about the hands, obviously. And so she was fortunately
especially
spared that
when their show isn't quite installed yet.
And still working. She was still madly working on some of the work for it. Yes. So and fortunately also the 4 breaks bad enough, but they weren't displaced, so she didn't need surgery or pins or any of that. So bad. It means she's been in a wheelchair or like using an office chair around the house and hobbling, but could have been worse. Could have been a lot worse.
So got through it.
Yeah.
Lots of lovely people helped too. It was amazing. So
Yeah.
a lot of kindness in the world. Just want to remind everybody of that. You
Ooh,
probably know that in
yeah.
your own world.
Cherie says irregular pavement resulted in a broken shoulder for you. Oof,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And shoulder is a nasty one, right? Because it affects your arm, obviously. I hope it wasn't your good arm, but could have been, right? So
Didn't
yeah.
Elaine break her wrist? I think it was on your, a problem on the sidewalk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and ice, right? I mean, we're not there yet, but that's
No.
also the season that we're heading
Yeah.
towards as well. So you have
Lots
to
of
watch.
rehab
Yeah.
for me and cleats.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to make sure you're wearing your
Yeah.
ice studs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, you were trying to read about binary.
I
As
was.
recall.
I
But as
was.
usual, I'm here making everything.
Animating things is what you do. So yes, binary. And I was looking at Wikipedia just before launching. I thought, well, I'll look at that, and that'll give me a little more of an idea about binary. And then it was like all the different ways you can use binary in all these different fields. And I thought, oh, that's too much. I'm overwhelmed. So I just looked in the dictionary definition. And so binary is adjective. And these are the three definitions: consisting of two things or parts; two, relating to, being, or belonging to a number system having two as its base. So in other words, like the visual that I did for the stream, and it is a computer. I think it's a computer. Is it called a computer language? I don't know. But there are
computers run on binary code,
right, which is basically it's either a 0 or 1.
Yeah, which means on or off.
Right, and so yeah. So, if you look at these insane amounts of just ones and zeros, that's how everything gets described to on the computer. And that's what I used for our visual. I spelt the word binary in binary, and then put them on binary colors, opposite colors. And then 3 is involving a choice between or condition of two alternatives only, such as an on, off, or yes, no. So it's kind of it's anything that sort of involves any or excludes anything but a this or that.
Black and white.
Black and white.
No
night
grays.
or day. Yeah, exactly. No, but night and day have twilight and dawn. So those mess that up, but that kind of thing. So, and then I was like, what am I gonna do? I came up with this theme and I don't have any ideas. And then at 1 minute before I thought, oh, right, I was working on a collage that was only black and white, and that's perfect. And it was, it's only just started, and I like it, but I hadn't got back to it for a little while, so I'm going to work on that. Yeah, so that works out well. So in the comments, let us know if you're working with the theme. You don't have to. It's always optional. You might want to work on something else, but if you are taking on binary, let us know how you are going about that, if you like. And I'm going to switch my camera to overhead, and Kim is going to read the comments to see what you guys are coming up with. The screen is going to go dark, but Kim is going to keep you entertained while I move the.
Shall I do a tap dance?
While I move the camera to the overhead. So
I could do tap dance right back on the table with my hands.
Oh. We'll be back in just a second. There's no sense making you seasick with this move to overhead.
Irina is the first to the gate with saying, I am doing red and green.
Awesome.
Those are binary too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, they are.
Exactly. That's great. Perfect. I'm just going to get my overhead light on. Hopefully that will. There we go.
So often binaries are about opposites, and being complements, they're opposites.
Yeah, exactly. So
Philippa says, my art room still isn't operational with a sad face.
Yeah. How did your move go, Philippa? Is it did it go reasonably well? I mean, I know you were going to have like a nice once it's set up, you're going to have more room for making art, which is every artist's dream. So
I hope you can get an interim set up in your art room with at least a table, chair, and some of your supplies, because it's very hard to not be able to make anything, even just to make a mess.
Yeah.
Cherie says, initially went literal with binary, researched how to write my name in binary. Now I'll try to be a little more creative. Excellent. I think that's a common part of the process. You start off with whatever's mentally easiest to hand, because it's your starting point. It's not your destination. It's just a way to get the gears lubricated.
Yeah.
So start wherever you need to start.
Yeah, exactly. I often find that whenever I'm sitting down to work on something creatively, the first few are maybe the first one or the first several, if I'm really rusty, are just about getting the brain started. And I usually hit a sweet spot a little later than the first one. And sometimes it's the same case. That's the case with a piece, right? I come up with I start and I don't know what I'm doing. And then as I work on the piece, it evolves. And then I realize, oh, if I'd known it was going to be this, I would have started differently, but I wouldn't realize what it was going to be unless I started. So,
yeah.
So this is the collage that I'm going to work on. And it was just, I did this from day one of a collage course that I just finished teaching called Collaging the Urban Landscape. So we were working black and white in the first day.
It's such a nice start already.
Yeah, just a little scene from a Toronto storefront. So I like how minimal it is right now. So I'm going to try to be careful about not adding a ton more, but adding more for sure. And
as long as you don't glue it down,
no,
you can
that's
make
true.
Extra.
Yeah,
More than you want to put down,
pieces and then
edit.
And I think that's very sensible.
Cherie said it's a good warm up. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And Philippa says her move went well, but it's all a bit chaotic with boxes all around. Tables and chairs are there, but table is a catch-all at the moment.
Yes.
It's been hard not creating, I bet.
Well, you're quite prolific, Philippa.
Yeah.
I know.
So yeah.
When there is a cork in the
flow,
it must be galling. So
yeah.
So this piece, the other directive on this collage, and my students did some very nice collages, was to start with a black background and work from that, because so often we work with a white piece of paper and add color or value, but this one I suggest, all right, the idea was to work on a black piece, full piece, and then start adding the whites on top of that. But I'm taking, of course, artistic license with it to.
Well, I hope so.
No, well, exactly. Gotta.
Philippa says your collage jams are keeping me going at the moment. Smile.
Oh, good.
Yeah, giving you some, also familiar creative context, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're in a new space, but your virtual space here is familiar.
This much is still here, yeah. So that's good. What are you checking out?
I'm just looking at how it's been made. That's interesting. Yeah. So the sky is a white piece of paper.
Yeah, as are all these pieces
laid onto the black piece of paper, and then the sidewalk is white paper
showing through. So
yeah. So I just think it was not, even though you described it verbally, I think it was maybe not obvious how you'd done this.
Yeah.
That's why I have the luxury of being able to peer over and take a look.
Take a
Yeah, so all the whites are added pieces of paper. So I just wondered if you could hold up the because those fine lines, that's
Oh
such a
yeah.
characteristic Cal thing, isn't it, everybody?
Sorry.
Everybody who knows him?
There we go.
There. So, yeah, those are the gaps in the white paper. Yeah, that's my Cal.
Well, and intentionally not putting them a little, not being perfect about it. Careful but not perfect. I think that's the
Yeah.
space I like to be in.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, look how wonky that is. It's crazy.
have I introduced you to my bratty wife? And her husband's pretty bratty too, so
Yeah. Yes, you are.
I am guilty as charged.
We were at the gallery on Saturday, Station Gallery, because a couple of friends of ours, my oldest friend in the world and her husband, drove from the Ottawa area to visit the show and visit us. It was the first time seeing them in person since COVID happened. So it was long overdue.
Yeah, that was a treat.
Yeah, it was
I had a good time.
a lovely, relaxed visit. And it was nice to see the show again too, because it's a funny thing when you, um, at least when I do, when I make work for a new show, the some of the work I feel like I see for about 10 minutes, and then it's in the show, and I haven't had a chance to absorb what I've made. So the more I can visit it, the happier I am, which makes the video I'm editing extra helpful too. Oh, and I wanted to mention specifically to Kathleen how sorry I am that I missed the print show at Nielsen Park. Um, it's just been really hard with my show on and my injury, and we had some family health crises as well. So, yeah, I know you understand about things like that. Oh, Rebecca's here.
Hey, Rebecca. Welcome. That's awesome.
Philippa comments, brilliant. I think that's about when you showed what you've done there. Rebecca said, sorry I'm late.
Yeah,
Glad to see you. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
Philippa asks, is there a good restaurant nearby that you could recommend? Well, we keep going to a Japanese Korean restaurant. Well, it's sort of Asian. It's got Chinese food, it's got Korean, it's got Japanese food. Masimono, is that what it's called?
I think it might be Makimono.
Makimono.
But I'm not even positive. So
Yeah.
It is relatively near the gallery on Consumers Road. That much I know.
It's just east, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But there are lots of other restaurants too.
Kim can really only eat
certain
things, and Japanese is always a good bet for her. So we do eat a lot of Japanese. But I think there are other options nearby.
Yeah,
for sure.
So Google is your friend, Philippa, when it comes to that. You can check out the reviews. If there's a kind of cuisine you're hoping for, you can ask for that specifically, or just best restaurants in Whitby, Ontario, and see what comes up. Kathleen says, sorry you couldn't make it to the printmaking show, Kim, but everybody understood. It was a very well-received show. Everyone was pleased. It, you know, the printmakers at Nielsen Park are so good, and there are now so many of them because it expanded several years ago. But yeah, so I know it would have been a beautiful show. I was sad to miss all of the. I mean, there's so many people I know and love who were in the show or at the opening, not even in the show. So, yeah. Next year will be a new year. New year, new me. At least my foot will be whole. I'm going to make sure of that. I'm going to stay for a few minutes longer, and then I'm going to get up and get back to my work. Ricky writes, I have something to share. I sold 3 collages.
Wow.
Ricky, you sold 3. That is fantastic. Congratulations. How does that feel? Wow. They were listed on my inventory at $25. When asked how much they were, I said $20. The buyer said, I only have 18, and I said sold. Sometimes, especially when you're in the early days of your selling, that's fair enough. And it makes room for new work, and that's a good thing, right?
Exactly.
Philippa says, Engo's sister lives there, and we're meeting friends of mine as well that I haven't seen since before COVID. Yeah, so you do be good to go for a nice dinner. So I recommend Googling best restaurants in Whitby. She adds, Engo's sister lives there very near the gallery. Well, that's perfect.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. We discovered someone else who is a student of Cal's and has been a student of mine, lives within 5 minutes of the gallery, and she helped with the install in the final couple of days, which was awesome because she has experience as a set designer.
Yeah.
And therefore is very handy and practical
with
and
three-dimensional stuff like Kim often always has with her work.
Yeah, I mean, she actually said in her comment in the visitor book that there was a lot in common between how I do shows and set designs, because I'm creating an environment, and there are things hanging from the ceiling, there are things on the floor, there are things in the middle of the room, there are things everywhere, right? Yeah. All carefully designed. The most we had a 2-week long install, and we needed it,
which was great though, because Kim has installed. We installed the show at Cedar Ridge it was supposed to be in 1 day.
It was 2 days.
And it was 2 days.
And it just about killed us.
Yeah.
With someone helping us.
Yeah.
There was a miscommunication. I'd been told that I would get assistance, and then that person left that job. And the idea of assistance was news to everybody else who was still there. So anyway, that was a big show physically. It wasn't as complicated as this one, but it was physically large. And yeah, it just about killed me. So anyway, this one was very intricate. So it was very, very good that it was.
The curator helped. They have a full-time installer there. So
he was great.
And
a couple of friends of mine who are veteran installers came and helped. They're not installers by profession. He's a retired architecture professor. She's a social work professor at graduate school. But their grown daughters are both very successful, ambitious artists. One's in dance, one's in visual arts, and and they're constantly mounting incredibly complex things. So it's just natural to them to come and help me out too.
And we're grateful because we need the help.
They're so great. Yeah. Bless them. But there's so much help along the way. That's why now the last few shows I've always got an acknowledgments sign up for all the lovely people who help in some practical ways, including a friend who devoted 3 days and evenings to us. And, Kathleen, Helen Jones, she did a tricky, long sewing assignment. That was thank goodness she has a spacious, uncluttered home, because couldn't do it otherwise. I don't know, it was like how many feet long? 70 feet long before it was cut down. So, yeah. There was some reason why I was bringing up the installed plan. Anyway, I forgot.
I'm sure it'll come back to you.
Yeah. For those who can't make it in person, of whom there are many, but are interested, I will be posting more and more things to experience the show virtually, including a 3D tour, and which I might turn into an event where I give a guided tour.
That's a great idea.
Online.
Yeah.
And video, and yesterday I just downloaded the photo documentation of the show, so that's exciting.
Yeah, fortunately, not all galleries do this, but Station Gallery in Whitby has a photographer to document the work, the shows, and also do a Matterport, right?
Well, that's actually what I got hired to do. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
I've hired him to document it for photos.
Okay.
And he was just kind enough to make a video, and since I've hired him to do the photography, he's allowing me to use the video. Let me see. Anne says, "Congratulations, Ricky."
Yeah, yes, that's awesome.
Big Ricky. Congratulations. Yeah. Your excitement is conveyed in the text of the chat, and we want to celebrate it with you because that's great. Jane says, "Kim, I'll look forward to your video tour. I check out all your info on Facebook daily." Oh, thank you, Jane. That's lovely. Philippa says, "The 3D tour is great and very impressive. Did you do it yourself?" No. It requires a special camera, a specific platform called Matterport. Real estate agents use it a lot for virtual tours of houses. But obviously, it's very applicable to exhibitions as well. I had the show at Redhead also documented in 3D. So actually making a comparison between the two would be very interesting. Ricky says, "Thank you all so much. You deserve all the congrats." It's a lovely feeling, isn't it? Yeah. When someone wants to pay actual money for something you've made.
Yeah.
It's not necessary to have that to be an artist. There are lots of important artists. I just want to stress that there are lots of important artists who don't make their living from their art. They make it some other way. But the work they do is hugely important to the conversation in contemporary art. And just so It just depends on each artist, but it's just nice whether it's an occasional thing or it's a more of an ongoing thing to have someone vote with their wallet from time to time. For example, the exhibition I keep going on about, it's a paid exhibition. I'm paid an artist fee for that show, um, which is as it should be. You know, there's a whole infrastructure at the gallery of, you know, a board and an executive director and a full-time curator and all these other people and the administrators of various kinds and facilities person and so on and so forth. And the whole reason they have jobs is because art happens, right? So if the artist was the only person in that equation not getting paid, even though the whole system relies on the artist having shows at their facility, that would be, well, it happens, definitely happens, but it is not reasonable. It's exploitative. So, anyway, so this is a proper professional museum type gallery. So it pays me a solo exhibition artist fee. Now, Philippa says, it's that you have connected in that way artistically with another person. Yes, yes, more than the commercial imperative. You know, there are artists for whom the commercial imperative is utmost, and that's a decision they made, in which case they're, you know, a commercial artist. But art is about something much bigger than that, much deeper and bigger. Even when it's light, it can be much bigger, part of something much bigger and deeper. Ricky says, before you leave, Kim, some time ago I asked about momigami, paper kneading. You weren't here that day, and Kal said to ask you. Can you tell me something about it? Oh, that's interesting. Do you have your phone here?
Apparently I don't.
No. Okay. I will be back.
The researcher is on it.
Yeah, because I may be familiar. I need to just look it up because the term has come up. I just recently taught for the Japanese paper place, and so
which is a great paper retailer and cultural
wholesaler mostly.
Yeah, wholesaler.
Yeah,
right,
mostly wholesaler.
Yeah, and they do workshops, and they have insane amounts of knowledge about Japanese paper, both handcrafted and sort of automated, but artisanal. And they have workshops. Kim's taught one of them. And oh my goodness, the papers are to die for. Colors and textures and different fibers and different behaviors and different thicknesses. And so, in fact, one of the students didn't make it to the workshop, and so I got to take away their stack of papers. And so these papers are all from that workshop that Kim did, and you can see they come in amazing colors. This has a beautiful sort of celery yellow green with a subtle check in it, and these have holes and wiggle sort of loopy patterns. Like, look there, that's beautiful, and they're different colors, and yeah. So this is a super score. So there are quite a few of those kinds in different colors, but then here's some that have like a transparency or a translucency with slightly more opaque stripes in different colors. Papers with different colored fibers in them. So yeah, I I feel very blessed to have walked away with these, and they're going to find their way into my collages. So some have multiple different colors, some are very monochromatic. These papers are much sturdier. Whereas the other ones were very gossamer. So yeah, I just got quite the haul. And these are also quite sturdy. And look at that. Isn't that great? The way it shows the colors below through. So yeah, delicious. And a whole bunch of different whites and off-whites with speckles and different. And I know that a bunch of them have different properties in terms of how well they accept water. A lot of Japanese papers and Chinese papers have exceptional wet strength. You can, when they have ink on them, or if you wet them with glue or with water, they still have strength. They don't fall apart. So, and I know that's probably the extent of what I know. And I know there are people at the Japanese paper place, but lots of artists who work with Japanese paper have immense knowledge about that stuff. So, all right. So, I'm just looking for what I will do next. I think what I might do is a little more detail on the signs. That's the thing I'm going to move on to. Just for fun. Because for me, that is fun. Sounds like Kim is making her way back. Here are the progress of crutches.
Slow, painful progress.
Slow, painful progress, she says. Her words, not mine.
Autocorrect. What was that stuff I bought the other day at Japanese paper place? Konyaku?
Konyaku, I thought it was. I hope.
Yeah, there it is.
The cat came back.
Here I am. So yeah, it's momogami is kneaded or crumpled paper, but of course it's not quite as simple as just grabbing a piece of paper and crumpling it. The traditional practice in Japan is to add a specific starch solution to the paper called konyaku, which is also, if you ever buy konjac noodles to have low calorie, low carb noodles, it's the same stuff. And it's a starch that changes the properties of the paper to make it's kind of stronger but more supple at the same time, so that you can sew it more easily, for example. But it also adds water resistance, and it also gives the paper memory with regards to folding, creasing, or crumpling. So kneading the paper is about just working it so that it turns into a crumpled texture. And if it's worked with this starch, and I noticed when I searched at some Australian bookbinders group has a starch recipe using tapioca or arrowroot to add to the paper to do the same thing. And you crumple the paper when it's dry, and you repeat until the paper is soft and flexible. So that's the thing, when you crumple paper enough, it can be soft and flexible. So that's one way of doing it. For artistic reasons, you might want it to actually look crumply and be not so soft and flexible, but it will make it more and more fabric-like to work with as you massage it, or knead it, as they say. So I hope that helps answer your question. Japan, they modify and work with paper in ways that in the West we've traditionally only done with fabrics.
There are clothes that are made out of paper.
There are,
like durable clothes,
yeah,
not just like one-use clothes.
One of my favorite things when I was growing up was I would go and buy these beautiful Japanese paper wallets. And when I say paper, it doesn't resemble the strength and texture of it did not resemble paper in the ordinary Western sense. It felt like a distinctive sort of cloth, but anyway, it always had these beautiful reproductions of Japanese block prints on it. So for years, I used to buy them every few years, and I'd give them as gifts because they're just gorgeous. And they lasted well. They really did. They would wear out eventually, but so does everything else. So, yeah. Can be decorated before treating using acrylics, waterproof pens, marbling, etc. This is the bookbinders group talking about using it for book covers or to cover boxes or for paper weaving. Or you can use this process to texturize the paper, and then you can also sew this material on the sewing machine when after you've modified it and worked it like that. So, yeah. Paper is a wondrous thing, isn't it?
Thank you, Kim. Yeah, and I think in the West, only certain people appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think anywhere, but I think it's a higher proportion in Japan for sure.
Well, it's more baked into the culture.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, there was a time in China where any paper that had writing on it was treated with respect. Like it couldn't just trample it. It was seen as something, someone went to the trouble of writing it or printing it onto paper. And so you had to, and these are the people, of course, who invented paper. My people. Yeah. So definitely different cultural values around paper. Of course, there are people in the West who adore and respect paper to the nth degree, but they do represent a smaller minority, I would say. For example, in Asia, the fashion magazines are doing very well, thank you very much. Big and fat, lots of pages, full of really high quality photography. And Kal and I have remarked on the fact, because he subscribes to some for feeding his collage work.
Yeah.
And
how they're getting
not
smaller.
only are they much smaller than they used to be, but sometimes the photography and reproduction just isn't very good, you know, which is like,
And I think it's kind of like the culture has, some of the culture has, like something I've noticed is the photographs are darker or murkier.
murky.
And I think that's because they look great on a computer screen.
Yeah, and they look like crap in print.
Younger people are not used to producing stuff for print.
Yeah.
And you know, I understand that. But
Yeah.
it's really
It's not
interesting,
right.
like in Japan and Korea, they're very, 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 very technologically advanced society. So they have all the bells and whistles as far as
more than we do.
yeah, exactly. More than we do.
Yeah.
And yet they still also have this vibrant culture of magazines still, whereas our magazines are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and they're being sort of replaced by social media and online. And so it's interesting.
And you know, their fashion magazines and GQs and so on look like ours did in the 90s, 80s and 90s,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think that's a nice example of showing the differing values around print and paper.
Yeah, exactly.
Just in spite of highly advanced technological use. All right, let me see. Cherie, that paper is eye candy. They also have a clearance section that has something for everyone. Yes, at the Japanese paper place,
Yeah,
they do.
I was showing them the paper that I
Oh,
took with
right.
me
You
because-
got yes, Cal got a nice. I was saying to him he needs to do some work that works with Japanese paper because can you imagine Cal doing collage with that?
Cal sure can.
That's going to be quite something. Philippa has a question for you, Cal.
Fire away, Philippa.
She asks, when I am doing decollage, how can I control how deep to cut if I only want to go down 3 layers when I have 5 layers altogether?
So really what I do, I mean, you can develop a feel for it to a certain extent, but I usually just cut deeply and let the glue hold it in place. And
yeah,
and that is imperfect too, right? Because I've intentionally not glued it too heavily.
Yeah.
So I'll peel back and like, oh, is the first layer good? No, maybe the next layer is good. Okay, that's
so it allows
good.
you to flip through because you've cut through a few layers.
But then, then sometimes there's like, okay, that's the layer I want, and it also wants to come loose too. So I have to like glue it back in.
Yeah.
But I guess that I still like that idea of being able to leaf through the options before.
So like a magazine.
Yeah.
Little micro magazine. Cherie writes, I bought some Japanese paper for printing, inkjet printing in particular. It gives such a rich substrate to print on. Yes. The workshop I just taught at Japanese Paper Place, it was mixed media and layers with colored washi. And we had the biggest collection of papers included in the fee, the course fee, that any teacher has ever had the temerity to ask for.
Well,
for
I
one
was
of their
showing
workshops.
them, and I was explaining that one person didn't make it to the workshop, and so that's why I got that stack of paper, and it is quite substantial.
I mean, that was all part of the course price. It was not an extra fee, so they are wonderful that way. So if you're able to take one of their workshops because you're close enough, I recommend it for that reason alone. I was saying that in order to say that I provided some prints on washi paper for the students to work with as part of the mixed media. And of course, that's when my printer decided it was going to be really fussy.
Difficult.
Yeah. Like sometimes it would print the sheets just fine, no problem. And other times it'd say, no, I'm going to take all of those sheets of paper and run them through simultaneously.
Well, and I seem to recall that was also very late at night.
Oh yeah, it was probably cranky with me because I was working on it at night.
Yeah.
Yes, that's how I am with my tech. I have a long, intimate relationship with my tech.
It is often quite beneficial.
Yes, and sometimes
and
it's
occasionally quite problematic.
Yep. Ricky says, thank you for doing the research. I was curious about gluing on it. I did use Mod Podge. Yeah, I mean, you can glue on it with basically anything that'll glue. And you could use iron-on stuff that's meant to glue fabric together as well, so whatever. Ricky adds, I'm loving the binary urban landscape you're doing, Cal.
Me too, actually.
Those signs are awesome, Cal.
I was really happy with them because they kind of are distilled, but they still
they
communicate what. So it's you probably can't see it very well, but
so give them a nice view of it.
Yeah. Sorry, trying to get the light.
There, that's better. The focus is a little bad though. Just back off a little bit.
Let's see if I wave here. Is it better?
Okay, it looks a little better now. Yeah, so it looks generalized like that, and yet you can see the do not slash in the circle. Nellie says, in Paris, the art magazines are using cheap paper, and you almost can't see the photos, as you were saying. It's just that few people can afford the real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really sucks because good paper. We had a beloved client in our design days, and we redesigned their publication. And unfortunately, because of the size of the publication and the frequency which they printed, they had to use very cheap paper. And it was really sad because it made it so much harder to make it a pleasant experience to read it. But we did our best. The typography definitely went up quite a lot of notches after the layout, after we were through with it. Philippa says, do you mean that you glue each layer down?
Yeah, I glue all layers down, but I glue them lightly. So
not full coverage.
Yeah, so what I'll do is I will aim to do about half of the surface with the glue stick, and also not really repeating very much. So it sticks down, it holds down, but it, in most cases, not in all cases, but most cases, it is peel upable. And sometimes I let myself in for too much trouble, and I'm peeling up things, and then they're like, oh, that's falling off, and now I need to glue that back in. But yes, I do glue everything, each layer to the next, and sometimes two layers get too well glued together, and I can't peel them apart, and it's just like, okay, that's just the nature of this particular decollage.
I can't seem to type on your keyboard, so I'm just going to say thanks for coming, Rebecca. Glad you came, even though you could only drop in.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. Philippa says, okay, thanks. I'll try that.
Yeah. Rebecca, bless her, has, I think I've mentioned that she helps me out with my work. So she's been working on my social media for the Fashion Art Toronto post.
Thank goodness,
making sure all those things get posted. I send her a bunch of images, and she's looking after the rest, which I have to say is a real blessing.
I should have had her do that for my show, but I couldn't get myself organized enough. Oh man, it's a struggle sometimes.
It is true that you have to be organized enough. Like if you want to delegate, you have to be more organized, and I used to struggle with that as a designer.
Yeah, you're doing way better now, which is awesome to see. But as you know, I was already taxed to the max, so I couldn't.
It's also a case of volume. Like in our design business,
the
volume of things that we dealt with was
it's a tidal wave after tidal wave.
10 times what I have to deal with my art career, but because don't have that strength anymore.
Well, I think I should probably
head out.
Yeah,
but thank you
because
for
my
stopping
foot's
by.
hurting a little bit from
that's,
sitting in this position.
That's a sure sign.
Yeah. But
thank
it's
you
so
for-
lovely to talk with you guys.
Thank you for stopping by. I know
Great to be back at the virtual collage jamming.
I know the gang is happy about it, and you know I'm happy about it. I haven't had to say everything, which is really nice. Yeah,
it reduces the pressure on you, which is nice. And Irina, if you're still here, it's nice to meet you virtually like this.
Yeah.
And Ricky, so happy for you.
Yeah, congratulations, Ricky. That is awesome.
Oh, I'm also working on new things for my shop, so stay tuned.
Yeah.
Oh, American Thanksgiving's coming up. So happy American Thanksgiving, Ricky.
Ricky, yeah, good for you for remembering.
Yes, I just remembered. Making my slow win.
Well, slow is the way it's got to be.
Yeah.
I'm cutting these windows, and I'm hoping I'll be able to keep it straight. What's what? I think I will. Say that, and then I just slice something that shouldn't have. Oh, I think it'll be all right. Okay. All right. Okay, well, I can fix that. I'm just talking to myself because the windows, they being a bay window, the side windows have a different angle. So you see more of the frame in some places than others. And unless I show that in my cuts, it won't communicate. So I'm hoping it will. All right. I think I'm going to have to glue some of this down. I've got loose pieces. I'm a little worried about that, so I'm going to glue that one piece that's the... Yeah, all right. That's what I'm going to do. Before I get to that bay window. And how are you guys doing with binary? What have you got cooking? I know a couple of people mentioned earlier, but going well, I hope. And what if you hadn't decided how to approach it, and you're using the binary theme? What did you decide to go with? Let us know in the comments. I will do a little more gluing, and then I will check in with you guys. Oh, it's such a treat to have Kim here to look after that for some of the time. You know, up until relatively recently, and I still do from time to time, I used to worry inordinately about proportion. I've always had like a sort of a weakness with proportion. Like I can draw details, but inevitably when I'm drawing figures or really anything, I get going and I do it, and then I look and oh, that part's way too wide. Oh, this part won't fit now because I didn't see that, and so on. And it used to, I used to really find it frustrating. And I used to think, this is something I need to fix. It's got, and of course I would like to improve on it, but I started to just tell myself, you know what, that is just the way you see things. We all have our strengths and weaknesses, and it's just going to introduce this character aspect. And so I just sort of gave myself permission to not worry about it as much. And it's it's work in progress, that, because I still see it. I still struggle with it. There's a perfect example right there. That sort of space between the sign and the white edge is way wider on mine than it is in here. It's like, but I just think like, all right, well, that's the way it's going to be. And despite that, I still seem to be able to make things that when I look at them the next day, let's put it that way, and I just look and think, yeah, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. It worked out well enough. So same thing with the bay window. I'm sure the bay window is not going to be the same proportion. Probably going to be slightly in the wrong place. And yet it doesn't invalidate, doesn't make the work invalid. I think it just makes it a little different than, it gives it a little character. Sometimes it messes it up, but not as much as I would have thought. All right, I'm going to check in the comments in a minute. You all right there?
Okay. Went for an unexpected little ride.
A little worrying when your wife is making her way around the house on crutches alone. Ricky says, thank you. As far as Thanksgiving, she says, it's one of my favorite holidays. Yours came so early. Yes, ours does come very early. Yeah, and I think it just comes. Yeah, of course, it's what we're used to, right? We like the fact, Kim and I both like the fact that it's further away from Christmas, and I think it just comes from the fact that, the further south you go, it stays warmer longer, right? So the harvest season changes, and now Thanksgiving is the same here, whether it's Toronto or or Tuktoyaktuk, which is way up there, but not that they have a growing harvest season at all, I don't think, but you know what I mean. Anyway, thank you, Ricky. That's nice of you to say. Irina says, one collage is done on her second one already. Well done, you. That's great. And Jane says, I've got two things going on, black and white and some funky figures, but we'll probably not finish either. My art space is also guest room and son Eric visiting from LA, so scrunched for space. Yeah, and of course it's nice when family can visit, right? So, and it'll be over before you know it, I'm sure. So, and collage is good in that respect. I mean, it all depends, right? Right, Jane? But it depends on how big your collages are too, right? Something that Kim advocates for small practices, and like most of my collage is a small practice. It's relatively modest size. Is that you, especially if you're challenged for space, is to put it on like a tray of some kind with edges. We have cookie trays that are aluminum, but they're quite large. They fit in the oven, but only just. And they have about about an inch deep rim. And so, you know, you could say, well, I'm going to keep all the stuff that I've got for collage in there, like my work, my tools, and maybe the reference materials for that particular collage. And then you can all just like put it in the tray, put the tray in the shelf or whatever, or take it over to this place and work on it there. Or so having that sort of portability can be a good idea, especially if you have to, if you want to work for a little while, but then want to put it away while you do something else, like while you make and eat dinner at the same table or whatever. So you would be surprised, I think, at the number of artists who who have done amazing work, and you know, they're at a pretty high level, and then you think, oh, well, they must have like a really elaborate studio, and they said, no, this was done at the kitchen table in between. You know, it's like, wow, you know. But artists are inventive, and we also need to make it, right? We're compelled. So if we aren't stopped easily because it's important to us, right? So, all right, if I have to do it that way, I'll do it that way. That way, at least it's getting done. So. I have been, as I think I mentioned earlier, I've been quite busy with sort of, in a fun way, getting ready for Fashion Art Toronto and also with Kim's show. So I haven't had as much time to collage as I would like. And so it's really nice just to be here with you guys, actually being hands-on. I haven't had that as much lately, so it's a real treat. Just to be actually cutting and actually gluing and looking and thinking and playing. There's always so much stuff that that isn't art making that artists need to do, right? Whether it's promotion or applications or liaising or researching. And of course, each artist is different, and I tend to be bad about making time for making work. So but it's delicious to be actually doing it. So I don't know if any of you guys are going to make it to Fashion Art Toronto. Both Kim and I are going to be there on the Friday evening. And in my newsletter, there was a 20% off code for that if you're interested in going. And they have a plethora of tickets options available. So you can just go to what's called the Fashion Playground, which is sort of like the central area, and that's where the art is. And then they have a small runway there for sort of small public shows. But there are a whole bunch of other things. There's a screening room for fashion-oriented film shorts. There's a vendor's area for people selling accessories and clothing. There are some photo opportunities. There are a few seating areas. There's a place to get food and drink, and then a separate room for the actual runway shows, which are more expensive. The Fashion Playground's $30 minus your 20% off from my code. The runway shows are more expensive, but definitely worth. If you're really into fashion, definitely worth that. But you can get a good sense of the place just for the $30 ticket. That's how I went in the spring, and quite enjoyed it. And it's great to see how different everyone was dressed. Like everyone's like enjoying it and some people are dressed to the nines, some people are dressed very tastefully, some are dressed very eclectically and artistically, and everything in between. So that I think is very cool. Like it's a more of a DIY crowd. Not to say that there aren't lots of designers and lots of haute stuff there as well, but the overall zeitgeist is, does it look cool? Have you come up with something cool and interesting? Right, you know? So whether it's as a designer who's doing that, or as a person like putting things together, making their own stuff, or combining things in interesting ways. So. Trying to figure out whether, well, I might sit with that for a while. Whenever you're doing something like this, where I've got a color image that's got more than just black and white and more than just really light and really dark, I've got things in between, I have to make some judicious decisions as far as, like, should I include that or not? Or that may still be somewhat dark, but I need a light detail to understand it. Like, I've put in the bay window now and I'm thinking, I'm not sure it's quite reading enough. It's got a piece that goes sort of over top of it and it's all pretty dark. So in one sense, I can understand just sort of ignoring it entirely. But I think I might put like a little fine white line over top of it, just to hold it, and maybe something along the bottom as well. And I'm just trying to decide whether I'm going to do that or not. So I'll probably put that on the back burner while I think about it and work on another area and then come back to it. There's another proportion thing. Like, I've got these signs here. Yeah, the post does go actually down to here, so I'll put a piece down there as well. But it's definitely lower than it should be. So, but that is just the way it's going to be. Oh, I see. Okay, that's like a sign. I didn't even know what I was looking at. Then I sort of squinted a little harder and figured it out. The sign sticking out into the street a little bit. So add a little extra detail for that. And because I've got that whole thing too low, I will try not to get it right down on top of the bicycle. I've started on the bike with the wheels, but I'm kind of avoiding it a little bit because that's going to take some work with that. And then let's just say I'm a little trepidatious about it. That's the kind of thing where I think that if I were at the end of a collaging session is not a good time to do it, or I think that's the kind of thing to do fresh. So probably the next time I work on this piece, I will start with working on the bike. So got the post as well, and then the frame, and yeah. And so I'm definitely going to do some editing there, because as well behind it there are some light colored pipes on the at the front of the building, and it's confusing the issue. And so I'm just going to say they're not going to make it to the final cut. And also the seat of the bicycle is very dark, as is the front of the building there, and you can't see the seat. So I will make the seat white so that it actually reads. So making decisions like that, and doing a little thinking ahead of time like this, and then, but I won't actually do it, I think is good. And maybe what I'll do is these 4 little window, it's kind of cafe curtains, I guess is what those are. So maybe I'll work on those. And so those cafe curtains are lace. And so they're not going to be lace in my cutting of them. But I will figure something out that will hopefully approximate them. I have kind of an irregular top, so I'll get that. And let's sort of go over to here. I'm gonna, yeah, see. Or yeah, they should be lower than. Okay, they are going to be lower. I'm cutting them in one place on here, but I'm going to lower them down when I get to there, because I just noticed the proportion was off, because they shouldn't be right under the signs. But they are sort of start around here. And they're divided in 4, but I'm sort of talking out loud because give you a little sense of what I'm looking at. Divided by 4 into 4 windows, but the gaps between the 2 outer ones are skinnier. There's a little bit of a topography there. This is skinny. And the middle post is thick. I want to include that. And I haven't lined them up very well. That's not good. Center post is wider. It's kind of like drawing with a knife. And I think because like lots of people like to use scissors, and I do use scissors from time to time. But in this case, I definitely like a knife because I can draw lines a little bit like I am drawing. Windows have little plants in front of them, so I'm trying to not be super literal, but to get a little feeling of the window boxes, or yeah, look like window boxes that are past their prime. They maybe have maybe this photo was taken in fall, late fall. They look brown. It may even be arrangements of dried flowers. So now, oh, how important is it to have those repeating patterns that are in the lace? That's more cutting. And is it going to be worth it? I have the feeling it might be, which annoys me, but it might just have to happen. Okay. It's kind of like a round thing. And then they're sort of like vertical shapes. So I'm just going to distill it to more or less those kinds of things with a little wiggle to sort of make it feel more like fabric. And just try and keep it really simple. Given the size that I'm cutting out, it's even trying to attempt it is adding a fair bit of detail. So no need to try and pretend my eyes are bionic and that they can see every last, and that I can cut something this crazy. So keep it simple and sort of consistent height, because it is sort of a band across there. And I'll skip the second tier, which I think is a good idea. Collage is an important aspect of collage is editing, right? Especially if you're doing this kind of collage. It's different if you're using imagery, but if you're making imagery from plain pieces of paper, for sure editing is really important, because you can drive yourself insane trying to make an image. And it's like, I can't cut that. Well, exactly. So come up with an alternative way of coming about it that will get it across, but without putting every last detail in. It's kind of like if you were doing a drawing that where you were given a fat marker, right? It's like, yeah, you can make a drawing of it, and but you can't do super fine things with a fat marker, but you can get the essence across. It's a tool that's not perfectly suited to the task. And so that it's like, well, how can I make it work well enough? Same thing with cutting, right? As soon as we go, oh my God, I'm going to have to cut all that out. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. So how can I express some of what I'm seeing